This EDTPA video begins with a special education handbook review Jeopardy style. The answer is 3 to 5 connected lessons. What is the question? What is a learning segment? The answer is Arial 11-point font. The question is, what is the required font and size for all commentaries? The answer is one of the most important documents that addresses format requirements. The answer is, what is the evidence chart? The answer is PDF. The question is, what is the best format for all of the documents? The answer is intended, enacted, and impact. The question is, what are the planning, instruction, and assessment tasks of the EDTPA? The answer is ready to teach. The question is, what is a 3 on the rubric? The answer is discussing things that didn't go as planned in task 1. The answer is, what is the task number 2 and task 3 commentaries? The answer is 1 to 2 video clips, not more than 20 minutes and not less than 3 minutes. The question is, what is the video requirement for the special education handbook? The answer is video editing. The question is, what violates the requirements in task 2? The answer is 12 pages, 8 pages, and 8 pages. The question is, what are the maximum page limits for the commentaries in tasks 1, 2, and 3? The answer is written, video, and audio. The question is, what are the acceptable forms of feedback? The answer is must be clear, observable, and measurable. The question is, what is the requirement for the learning objective for each lesson? The answer is the learning environment, instructional strategies, learning tasks and materials, accommodations, modifications, assistive technology, prompts, and/or scaffolding. The question is, what are planned supports? The answer, observations, pre-tests, teacher-made tests, standardized tests, prior instructional history, systematic observation, task analysis assessment. The question, what are examples of baseline data? Baseline data, daily assessment records, and student work. What is the evidence of the focused learner's growth for task 3? Here are some reminders on task 1, planning the learning segment. The organization for task 1 has 5 components. First, the context for learning, not scored. Second, 3 to 5 lesson plans. Third, instructional materials. Fourth, planned assessments. Fifth, planning commentary. Look at the rubric for task 1. Aim for a score of 4. All lessons and objectives include clearly defined measurable outcomes, and lesson objectives and/or instructional materials and planned supports are logically sequenced to move the focused learner toward achieving the learning goal. On the Understanding Rubric Level Progressions document, we ask the question, is there an automatic fail? In order to score at levels 3, 4, or 5, the learning goal, lesson objective, specific planned support, and learning task and material should consistently address the identified IEP goal and standards if applicable. Note that some focused learners with an academic learning goal may not have a related IEP goal, but the planned support should be aligned with the relevant accommodations from the IEP. Instruction and planned supports are required to be related to the IEP. They do not necessarily have to address a specific IEP goal, but can address a more specific skill that would indicate progress toward the IEP goal. Look at rubric 2, aim for a 3. Learning tasks and planned support strategies provide appropriate levels of support reflecting the focused learner's strengths and/or needs. Look at your Understanding Rubric Level Progressions document. Automatic 1 means the learning tasks and supports are not aligned to the lesson objective and/or learning target. The learning tasks and supports do not reflect required modifications and accommodations for the focused learner as specified in the IEP. Read the commentary description of support strategies and see if they are supported by the lesson plans. Look at Rubric 3. Aim for a score of 3. Candidates' justification of instruction and plan support strategies makes general connections to the focus learner's strengths and needs and research or theory. Look at your understanding rubric level progressions. An automatic 1 means that the candidate's justification represents a deficit or stereotypic view of a focus learner and his or her background. Here are some reminders on how you might make your connection between your specific plan support and connection to research and theory. If you're using manipulatives to teach about fractions, there's an article by Butler and colleagues in 2003. If you're using graphic organizers to improve reading comprehension for students with learning disabilities, there's a meta-analysis by Lim, L-I-M, and colleagues in 2004. If you're using modeling to improve academic achievement of students with disabilities, Mansett, Williamson, and Nelson's 2005 study can justify that teaching move. Using reinforcement to improve academic performance, you can support this with a study by Sutherland, Webby, and Copeland in 2000. Look at Rubric 4. Aim for a score of 3. Candidate identifies plan supports for the communication skill that generally facilitate the focus learner's use of it to participate in learning tasks and/or demonstrate learning. Look at your understanding rubric level progressions document. The guiding question: examine support for the identified specific communication skill. Supporting communication development includes academic language for academic learning goals or communication to access instruction as well as to demonstrate learning. Communication skill. Think through the communication demands and what the tasks that you're planning require in order for the student to meaningfully participate in instruction. You can address receptive language skills like listening and reading. You can more easily catch visible evidence of expressive language like speaking or writing that are needed by the focus learner to engage in, complete, and learn from the task successfully. What must the learner do to participate in instruction and learning and/or demonstrate learning? For example, listen to directions, read a piece of text, answer a question out loud, prepare a task presentation, write a summary, respond to written questions, research a topic, or talk within a small group of peers. Be sure to align your communication skill with the learning goal. Look at Rubric 5, aim for a score of 3. Planned assessments, including baseline data and the daily assessment record, are aligned to all lesson objectives and provide evidence for monitoring the focus learner's progress toward the learning goal at different points in the learning segment. Look at your understanding rubric level progressions. If there are no lesson objectives for the learning goal, look at the learning goal and decide if it's expressed in clearly defined measurable terms. If the learning goal is expressed in measurable terms and is assessed accordingly in each lesson, assume that it's meant to be a lesson for all, an objective for all lessons. Our baseline data should describe the focus learner's level of skill related to the learning goal and plan supports. Examples of baseline data sources include pretest, work sample, a skills checklist, observational notes, information from a cooperating teacher, and a skills test. Let's see what this looks like on some exemplars. These exemplars don't mean that all rubrics earned a score of 5 or 4 or even 3. They, in aggregate, passed with all of the commentaries on all of the rubrics. These just give a representation of one way to respond to commentary for the planning task 1. So we've got an early childhood example, context for learning, large urban school district, they work in the hallway, pulls the focus learner out of the general education class, works on an IEP goal of sorting objects by color, shape, and size, collaborated to figure out what to teach, and uses Envision Math curriculum. The Focus Learners 5 has a primary disability of significant developmental delay and no behavioral intervention plans. The IEP goal is Larry will sort, classify, and describe objects by their attributes such as color, shape, and size from 1 out of 5 to 4 out of 5 opportunities. The learning goal is with minimal support, Larry will sort and describe objects by their attributes such as their color, shape, and size. The content standard at the kindergarten level is classify objects into given categories. There's clear alignment between the IEP goal, the learning goal, and the standard. Now let's look at the series of lesson objectives. For 3 lessons, we've got with the use of modeling, Larry will sort objects by color in 4 out of 5 opportunities. With use of visual supports, Larry will sort objects by shape and size in 4 out of 5 opportunities. With minimal support, Larry will sort objects by the attribute of his choice and explain why those objects go together in 3 out of 5 opportunities. The planned supports for Lesson 1 include modeling, how to sort by color, using a chart as a visual, colored paper, a graphic organizer, visual and verbal cues, reminders, wait time, and praise. For Lesson 2, planned supports are graphic organizer, visual pictures, verbal cues and reminders, wait time, and praise. For Lesson 3, planned supports fade to verbal cues and reminders, wait time, and praise. The communication skill for this learning segment is student will verbally use the phrase, I can sort ... and explain why the objects are sorted together using the correct attribute verbiage such as big, small, circle, square, triangle, red, blue, green, etc. Communication supports for each lesson. First, there's modeling the use of the communication skill, providing opportunity for guided practice. Second lesson is referencing the visual as a reminder to start the skill by giving the first sound so the student can finish it. And the third lesson is pointing, verbal cues, wait time, and praise. The assessment tools, data collection, and procedures for this learning segment are first to use a check mark to indicate whether they sorted their piles on the correct colored paper and use the communication skill. In Lesson 2, they'll use the check mark to indicate whether the focus learners sorted their pile of shapes by shape and size, and if they can use visuals on their paper as supports in sorting. Lesson 3, the checkmark will show whether they sorted their pile of objects by an attribute of their choice and explain why these objects went together. There's a table of the sample daily assessment tool. We've got a description of baseline data in row 1. Row 2 is the lesson objective for lesson 1. Row 3 is the assessment for lesson 1. So we've got a column for the student's score and then a column for the percentage. The MCEA example is Terry will add and subtract fractions with like and unlike denominators with 80% accuracy. The learning goal, the student will add and subtract fractions with like denominators by using a visual model. So we've broken the IEP goal down into a reasonable goal that can span a single unit within a week of instruction. This aligns to a Common Core Math Standard, NFB 3A, grade 4. Each daily lesson progresses from the student's number of attempts, increasing 3 out of 5 to 4 out of 5 by the end of lesson 3. Supports include pre-made number lines, pre-partitioned, labeled with the unit of fraction, and communication skill is to verbally respond to a math problem by explaining a problem-solving strategy. To support the communication skill, the teacher's going to model number talk, provide an anchor chart, use a math talk poster for reference when answering questions. This series of assessments are an exit slip, some work samples of addition problems, and work samples of addition and subtraction problems. There's a check mark system. The EAA exemplar is for Ben to improve math skills by achieving a series of benchmarks. In the IEP goal, the learning goal says using notes, the student will be able to apply their understanding of circles by computing the area, circumference, and radius of circles in 7 out of 10 trials. There's a connection to math content, Common Core Standard 7GB4. Each daily lesson in the learning segment shows an increase in skill progression. The supports include PowerPoints, guided notes, handouts, flip chart of vocabulary, modeling, manipulatives, and reading aloud questions. A targeted vocabulary term is included in the communication skill for each lesson, using the term pi, circumference, diameter, using the term circle, area, formula. For lesson 1, the teacher will collect some data on the student's performance during a think, pair, share, and during an informal formative assessment with some graphing problems. In lesson 2, data will be gathered through a check-in, an informal check for understanding on a performance task, a worksheet, and then also an exit ticket. In lesson 3, the teacher's got 3 points in time that they're going to collect assessment data. For task 2, engaging the focused learner, we want to think about how, from the instruction we've planned, we can facilitate instruction that promotes student engagement, thinking, and that uses subject-specific pedagogy. So our aim on these rubrics is to try to reach toward the score of 3, which is like proficient novice. We will collect video evidence of our teaching. The clips should demonstrate how you establish a positive learning environment, how you engage and support the focused learner to develop and apply the knowledge or skills related to the learning goal. And if the focused learner is working in a group, the clip should include some interaction with the focused learner as well as other learners in the group. Be sure to include your face in the video also. Requirements are the commentary of no more than 8 single-spaced pages in an Arial 11 font. You have artifacts that include 1 to 2 video clips of no more than 20 minutes, but not less than 3 minutes. Before you videotape, practice, have your video recording device out. Be sure that you know the best location for capturing the activities in your class and your face on camera, and check that the sound quality is acceptable. During instruction, if you are co-teaching, you must take the lead in instruction. If there are other educational professionals in the room, like a cooperating teacher or a paraprofessional, you should continue to provide the same support for all students as usual. So don't ask those people not to come into the room. Be sure to record all of your EDTPA learning segment. Even though you're not going to upload all of it, record it all. Use active engagement strategies during each lesson. A video of you lecturing is not a smart choice for an EDTPA video clip. During instruction, show opportunities that students have during the lesson to build and practice self-determination and self-regulation, such as goal setting, self-assessment. Use visual schedules, self-operated audio recordings that the student can control to move to the next prompt. If you're working with a scripted curriculum, you must be able to identify what the skill that curriculum targets is and the standards to which that curriculum aligns. What in the curriculum is a support? What reinforcements are built in, and how might you supplement that curriculum? When you're video recording, ensure that you have placed the camera in such a way so that children who may not be recorded are not captured. You should be clearly visible in the video. Your focused learner should be clearly visible in the video. When video recording, clear audio is important. Other professionals can be seen or heard, but it should be clear that you've taken the lead in instruction. Use caution when recording on whiteboards because there's often a glare that obscures the images. Our rubrics for task 2 assess the learning environment, so your rapport and respect with that focused learner and your ability to support that focused learner in making progress toward reaching the learning goal. your engagement with the focused learner, using explicit strategies to actively engage the focused learner, and linking the focused learner's prior learning to new learning. Deepening learning is using prompts that provide the focused learner opportunities to respond to the learning goal, giving accurate and specific feedback, and the opportunity to apply that feedback in subsequent responses. Rubric 9 is supporting teaching and learning. The candidate uses instructional strategies, plans supports, and/or materials in ways that match the focused learner's needs and related to lesson objectives. Rubric 10, the final rubric for task 2, assesses your ability to propose changes for instruction and/or planned support strategies related to the learning goal. Make connections to the focused learner's strengths, needs, and/or research or theory. You'll compress your video using Handbrake. You can open Handbrake. You can find more details on the UWM EDTPA website. If you're using a PC, you go to Source. If you're using a Mac, you click on Source and find the video. Step 3, for a PC, select a destination by clicking Browse. On a Mac, you click Browse to choose the final destination. Give the clip a name, including your name, and press Save. Change the chapters to seconds on a PC. Change the chapters to seconds on a Mac. You're selecting the seconds that you want to just extract that chunk of the video. Your face should be in that chunk. Under video quality, circle next to the bitrate, put in 2000. Step 7, you'll click Start and you'll wait for this pineapple icon or the message that says Queue is finished.